Members, pursuant to a resolution of this House, I have the privilege to invite Bangarang and Wiradjuri Elder Auntie Geraldine Atkinson and Nira Ilam Balak man of the Tungarang Nation, Mr Marcus Stewart, to the floor of the House. I'd like to thank the traditional owners for the welcome to country today, and on behalf of the honourable members of this House, acknowledge, as we do every sitting day, the traditional owners of the land we are meeting on. We pay our respects to them, their culture, their elders past, present and future, and elders who are with us today from other communities. Co-Chair Atkinson and Co-Chair Stewart, this is an historic day for our state, and it's my privilege to now invite you both to read out the names of the People's Assembly and to address the House.
I'd like to acknowledge the First People's Assembly Victorian members from South East Region, Alice Pepper and Kayleen Williamson. Elected member for North East Region, Auntie Leanne Miller. Elected member for South West Region, Auntie Charmaine Clark. Elected member for North West Region, Jacinda Chaplin and Raylene Harradine. Elected members to the Metropolitan Region, Nagara Murray, Tracy Evans, Caroline Briggs and Auntie Muriel Bamblett. I'd like the representative from the Gudjimmerang Traditional Owner Aboriginal Corporation, Auntie Donna Wright, representatives for the First People of the Millewa Mallee Aboriginal Corporation, Melissa Jones. I would also like to acknowledge Metropolitan Representative Auntie Esme Bamblett, who couldn't be here today, but has made an enormous contribution to our work. Thank you.
I'd also like to acknowledge elected member for the South East, Peter Hood. Elected member for the North East, Travis Morgan. Elected members for the South West region, Uncle Mukai Bell, Jordan Edwards. Elected members for the Metropolitan region, Reuben Berg, Matt Burns and Alistair Thorpe. Representatives for the Gunai-Kurnai Land and Aboriginal Waters Corporation, Troy McDonald. Representative for the Dja Dja Wurrung Clans Aboriginal Corporation, Trent Nelson. Representative for the Barinji Gadjin Land Council, Dylan Clark. And representative for the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung Cultural Heritage Aboriginal Corporation, Uncle Andrew Gardner.
Say that this is a very significant and momentous day, and we'll invite everybody to participate in the debate and err on the side of caution, which is our future. I'd also like to say that our country has never been ceded, the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung, traditional owners of Melbourne, and we always pay our respects to our elders past, present and future. Our traditional lands extended from Werribee River in the west, Great Dividing Range in the north, Mount Bawbaw in the east, and Mordialloc Creek to the south. We always pay our respects to our elders. They are knowledge holders, and they gave us their wisdom and their life experience. So those truths are evident from our elders that have passed on. So I'd like to say Wominjeka, Wurundjeri Wurrung Bala, Newman Kundi Big, which means welcome to the land or the country of the Wurundjeri clans of the Woiwurrung people. Thank you very much.
Co-Chair Stewart.
Just also like to note elected member for the North West who can't be here, a couple of our members, Jason Kelly, elected member for the South West region, Sean Fagan, Wadawurrung Reserve seat holder, and elected member from the Metropolitan region, Uncle Trevor Gallagher, and representative of the Eastern Mar Corporation, Jamie Lowe.
Thank you.
Well, hello everybody. My name's Geraldine Atkinson, and those who know me usually call me Auntie Jerry, and I hope that I'll get to know you and that you'll be able to also acknowledge me that way, so thank you. I too would like to acknowledge country and acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded in this land. I specifically acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which this Parliament House sits, the Wurundjeri Wurrung people, and we've just heard from Uncle Andrew. I'm a proud Bangarang woman. I'm from the north-east of what is known as Victoria country that flanks the Goulburn and the Murray rivers. So in my language, I would just like to say, Galinya, Yahweh, Wuda, Nuwanda, Gakayakumpuk, Muma, Garajik, Bura, Wooden, Nuwanda, Yambina, Barapik. What I've just said is good morning, everyone, that we, all of us, we come here together, here today, from near and far, for the future of all people, all our people. And I love the opportunity to share my language, and I love seeing the increasing willingness of people's communities and institutions right across Victoria to embrace and celebrate our culture. In many ways, the agreement that we've reached with the government to create a treaty authority led by First Peoples and grounded in our culture goes to the heart of this very dynamic. It recognises the journey to treaty isn't only about destination, but how we get there is vitally important. Our community knows what's best for our community. It's essential that First Peoples lead this journey. Essential because it's both the morally right approach and the most effective approach in achieving the best results. But the journey also presents many opportunities for everyone to learn from and share in the strength, the wisdom of the oldest living culture in the world. We're here representing, Marcus and I are so proud to be here with you today to talk about the Treaty Authority. It's a vital piece of the architecture that's going to help us deliver a treaty. We're here representing the democratic voice of our people, the First Peoples Assembly of Victoria, and we're here to present you the democratic voice of the state of Victoria with. It's remarkable when you think about it like that. Although a huge power imbalance remains, my people, the First Peoples, now have a voice, and that means to communicate with, to negotiate with, and to create with this institution. Sovereign power from us to sovereign power to you. Many people have worked hard to make this a reality, but I want to take a moment to give a particular thanks to Gudget Mara woman, Jill Gallagher, AO, who I believe is with us today. Jill's patience and steady guidance in bringing form to the First Peoples Assembly as a Treaty Advancement Commissioner is something everyone in Victoria should be grateful for, and I acknowledge those, the plaudit that you've just given her. So thank you, Jill. I hope you're as pleased as I am to see such tangible steps being taken towards treaty. This Treaty Authority Agreement being a prime example. There's no escaping the harsh reality that Aboriginal people have suffered immensely at the hands of the Victorian state. We were driven from our lands, murdered, herded onto reserves, torn apart from our families. We've been unfairly targeted and discriminated against for generations, with the disadvantage and injustice compounding over the years. But you know what? We have survived. We survived the concerted attempts to eradicate us and our culture. And it should be of no surprise that many of our people find it hard to place any trust in Parliament or have faith in government systems. Indeed, all too often, these are still the sources of ongoing injustices. That needs to change, and treaty is the way that we can change that. I want treaty to restore the ability of my people to make the decisions that affect our communities, our culture and our country. An ability to do things our way. This is why it's so important that the Treaty Authority is led by First People and grounded in our culture, law, L-O-R-E, and law. The Treaty Authority will support treaty making in Victoria between the First Peoples of Victoria and the state government. It will also be an independent umpire to help resolve disputes between our nation groups, and we're going to do it our way. This is not something that any colonial system can do for us. We determine who we are, who represents us, and where our country is. We asked the Treaty Authority to sit outside, for the Treaty Authority to sit outside the usual government system. It won't report to a minister that sits in Parliament. Its funding cycle will be insulated from the whims of the usual political cycles. And I understand that that is different, but it needs to be. Treaty needs to be done on our terms. Our people need to have faith in the path forward. Our law and law have stood the test of time, and I'm proud to see thousands of years of knowledge, wisdom and resilience of our people being embedded into the public institutions we are creating on the journey to treaty. Western court systems are combative by default, whereas the Treaty Authority will respect our culture. The starting point will always be dialogue. Our culture's been practiced by countless generations, and I want it to be practiced here for countless more generations. You each have a part to play here in ensuring that this can happen. I ask you to walk with us on this journey. I ask that you give the Treaty Authority and other treaty elements Bill 2020 your blessings and play your part in making history. Don't look back on this moment in years to come to see yourself on the wrong side of history. Instead, step into this moment and have the courage to help create change, to relinquish a fraction of power so that treaty umpire can be truly independent from government. In passing this bill, the members of this Parliament have an opportunity to facilitate the creation of the first permanent piece of architecture for treaty making. This is a positive step, and I believe it's a step best taken together with all of us. What a message that will send to everyone to see. A consensus vote, all sides of politics coming together to get us closer to treaty in Victoria. Thank you for listening. I'll now hand over to Marcus.
Thanks, Auntie Jerry. My name's Marcus Stewart. I'm a proud Nirayal and Bullock man of the Tanarung Nation, Central Victoria, and I'm also the fellow co-chair of the First Peoples Assembly of Victoria. I also want to begin by paying my respects to country, acknowledging the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people as the traditional owners of this land, and pay respects to their elders past and present, but also acknowledge all Aboriginal people, elders, and all our ancestors who have guided us on this journey. And we think about Parliament of where we stand today, the short history it has on this land in the context of the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung, who have been on this land for thousands of years, like many traditional owners throughout Victoria. So in my language, I'll say, Wawagi Wawurang, Libik Nuguganga Guk, Wawagi Yomagu, Gurubuk Nungojin. I also, if I talk about the context of why acknowledgements, the acknowledgements that we give, the language that we use recognises the simple truth that there were a society of people here before invasion and that we're still here. As I did a couple of weeks ago when we were on Gurubunuk country of the Eastern Maar Nation in Lorne for a ceremonial signing of the Treaty Authority Agreement with the Premier, I want to invite everyone elected to the legislative, all MPs, just to take a second or a moment throughout my speech to look up at the smaller gallery, to look at the faces and remember the faces of our elected members of the First Peoples Assembly of Victoria who represent the state of Victoria. These members are the heart and soul of the treaty movement here in Victoria. They stand on the shoulders of giants and have been able to deliver on our community's aspirations and build on our activism and advocacy that we've seen for generations and decades. They've been out yarning in every corner of this state on country, having the hard conversations, finding the common ground, building consensus, finding the common threads to weave those stitches together of how we come here today with the bill that we're in front of you. We are the builders and our community are the architects. We build to their design and their aspiration. I'm really proud to be walking alongside our members for the common purpose of securing tangible structural change that will improve the lives of our people. The Assembly is living proof that sovereignty was never ceded, a bold and positive act of self-determination. I also want to join in Arnie Jerry in thanking Arnie Jill Gallagher AO for her role in establishing the Assembly. Jill, thank you. It's a good example of the progress that can be made when First Peoples are put in the driver's seat, when solutions are crafted by First Peoples for First Peoples. So it makes complete sense that our law, Western law, and our cultural authority is at the heart of the architecture that will be put in place to get treaty done in this great state. Since invasion, successive governments have by large inflicted serious harm on our people. For a long time, the desire behind policies and laws that have been created in this room right here were to eliminate us entirely. First Peoples in Victoria live in the shadow of colonisation, and it follows us everywhere we go. Targeted, issue-specific reform may cast discrete beams of light into our lives as First Peoples, but only more profound structural change can eradicate this shadow. Centuries have shown that the platitudes of the powerful cannot bring the kind of change that we want and that we seek and that we need. Treaty is changing this. It's about giving First Peoples the power to decide First Peoples issues. If we want treaty to deliver, if we want to improve the lives of our people, we cannot move forward using the same systems that have been used against us and that have held us back. That is why passing the Treaty Authority and other treaty elements to Bill 2022 is such a critical step forward in the treaty journey, not only for this state, but for this nation. The Treaty Authority was informed after years of yarning, consultations, engagement with our people across the state and over country. As you know, building consensus takes time, and we've come here with an agreement that we're confident in has the backing of our community. This model will ensure treaty negotiations are not restrained by colonial systems or government bureaucracy. Instead, these negotiations will uphold our culture, our law, LORE, and Western law, which has been practiced on these lands for countless generations. By passing this bill, we would take a huge leap forward in the journey towards treaty, a huge step forward in making things right. I'll repeat the wise words of Arnie Jerry. Don't look back in this moment in years to come and see yourself on the wrong side of history. Instead, walk with us. Do what you can to support this groundbreaking treaty process. Again, this model was designed by First Peoples for First Peoples. The Victorian government has shown that they are willing to listen to our people. Yesterday, the opposition did the same, demonstrating the treaty is beyond politics, and for that we thank you. So I stand here in expectation that the entire Parliament will support the bill. Treaty is about listening to First Peoples. Well, we've spoken. This is what we're asking for. Without treaty, what is now called Victoria will remain in our people's hearts, in their minds, and in reality, the colony of Victoria. We're asking you to pass the bill and breathe life into this agreement. Show the rest of Australia that Victoria is ready to right the wrongs of the past and create a better future, to welcome a united, not a divided future for all Victorians. The sad truth is, there is not many indicators that show positive outcomes of government involvement in Aboriginal people's lives. On the flip side, there's overwhelming evidence that shows when Aboriginal people are in charge of the programs, the policies that affect our lives, that they succeed. If you believe that Aboriginal people should succeed, then vote for this bill. If you believe that Aboriginal people should have the ability to make the decisions that disproportionately impact our lives, then support this bill. I firmly believe that the journey of treaty will bring us closer together as a society. But I want to be clear. Treaty isn't merely symbolic. As some have tried to suggest in recent days, treaty is about tangible, structural change to improve the lives of our people. I want to thank all parliamentarians that have met with us and have sought to learn more about the treaty process and about the treaty process that we're putting together. I urge anyone who has any reservations to reach out. Our door is open and our door will always be open. The journey to treaty might not always be easy. It might push some beyond their comfort zones, but it's a journey we need to take, and it's a journey best taken together. So please, walk with us, and thank you.
Members, we thank the members of the First Peoples Assembly for being with us today, and we thank the co-chairs, Aunty Jerry and co-chair Stewart, for his and her inspiring words, and I ask members to acknowledge the co-chairs as they withdraw from the chamber.